All right. Good morning. Welcome back. It's 4 minutes past 7 a.m. on this bright and beautiful Monday morning. My name is Victor. Now let's shift gears and talk about issues to do with water, irrigation and sanitation in the country. It is one of the biggest dockets, ministries handling different dockets. There is 3 of them. That is a big one for that matter. And this particular morning, it's a rainy season and most parts of the country is actually receiving rainfall, which is quite enough to give us some food, all right? And we can also do water harvesting, but at the same time, sanitation is quite important. Let's talk about that for a moment. And in studio, I'm joined by the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Sanitation, Water and Irrigation, Engineer Eric Mugaa, joining me in studio. Waziri, good morning and welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Good morning, Victor, and thank you for having me today.
Karibu sana.
It is a pleasure
to
sit in your good office.
Asante sana.
Really nice studio.
Asante, we are trying. This is where we belong. How is Kenya doing? Let me start by that question. I usually ask my guests in studio, how is Kenya doing?
You have to be more particular because Kenya is broad.
It's a broad question.
It's a broad country.
Yes.
But I will answer it on matters water. Kenya is a water scarce country. We have enough water, especially when it rains, and when it is dry.
Yes.
We have a challenge. The per capita is 454. Well, we are supposed to be considered a stable country. Everyone is supposed to be, the least figure is 1,000. So clearly we are not even a half. So it matters challenge and we have to take it at a stride. These are not problems you can solve in a day. But with proper planning, Victor, it is doable.
It is doable?
Yeah.
So do we have enough water in the country?
Not yet, as we speak. But we have a plan that by the year 2030, when I talk of a plan, I mean we need to invest and ensure that, as a ministry, we're working to ensure that by the year 2030, every Kenyan can access water, which is enshrined in our constitution as an economic and social right. To achieve that, we have an investment vehicle, just, planning.
Yes.
Called NAWASIP, National Water and Sewerage Implementation Plan. It is a plan, it's like a strategy to a tune of almost 995 billion Kenya shillings. And that is not a mean ask, considering the amount of money we get from the exchequer on an annual basis. This year alone, our budget from the exchequer for the financial year 2025 is less than 20 billion. And that's why now we have to really lobby and engage our development partners. I'm talking about the banks that have supported us for a long time: World Bank, African Development Bank, Danida, and so many, to name but a few. And wherever I have been actually marketing this too much. Because if you look at that NAWASIP in this case, and we have a NISIP from the side of irrigation, you realize that we have a plan, but the plan will require funding. Yeah. It is my job to do that, to look for funds. So I don't take it lightly.
You said you only have 20 billion shillings?
Less than.
Less than 20
from
billion.
From the GOK.
Out of what the expected amount?
Victor, I talked about an investment vehicle of 995 billion in 6 years from today.
Yes.
From that, we have almost 450 from our development partners. GOK almost 200. World Bank is funding us in a program called K-Wash to a tune of almost 250 million. But we have a deficit of more than 500. And this if you do simple mathematics, like this year on development, I'm talking about development budget from the exchequer, from the financial year, this financial year, we are talking about less than 20 billion. So for us to raise the remaining 500, if you propagate that for the next, say, 6 years, that is 120 billion. We will be short 380 billion. And that is where we are really engaging our development partners to help us. Because if we actualize that by the year 2030, we can promise Kenyans water at their doorstep. It is a bold plan and ambitious plan. But as a country, we have to think bold and we have to think ambition.
Yeah.
That is the only way to solve our problems. In Kenya, Victor, we depend on both groundwater, which is what I will actually talk about today, and also surface water. On surface water, these are the rivers we have, the key rivers. You know, in Western we have Kinanzoia, we have Nyando, we have Mara. When you come to this central and eastern side, we have the main rivers Atana and Athi.
Yeah.
When you go to northeastern, we have Ewasonyiro River, and the river that comes from Ethiopia cuts into Kenya, where there's some bit of irrigation, and then heads to Somalia. Now, these surface rivers that we actually have cannot sustain us as a country. But we have the advantage of rains that come in 2 seasons. And by our average rainfall ranges to about between 200 millimeters annual to 1800. And the weather people have told us that the average is 600.
Yeah.
This is one of the greatest resources we have as a country. But unfortunately, all this water ends up into our inland lakes or the ocean, Indian Ocean, and causing havoc on its way, as you've seen last year.
Does that worry you, CS?
That troubles me, not only worries me, because Kenyans are looking at us to give solutions to those problems. And I've reiterated before that the solution to this problem, Victor, is simple. Storage, water harvesting. Storage and water harvesting. To store water and to harvest water are 2 different things. Are the same thing, but if you look at it from different perspectives, you realize that if we can only tap that water to avoid it getting into our oceans and lakes, our problems are solved. Also on food security. Human-animal conflicts is solved. And in a manner of speaking, we would be a very, very stable country.
Yeah. And yes, when you talk about water harvesting and storage, that is about sustainable water resource management, because that is exactly. It's broad.
Yeah.
But let's come back to it. When you talk about harvesting and storage, a common mwananchi will have, let's say, 20,000, 10,000 liters of water for their domestic use, etc. But then now, this one calls for a bigger spectra in terms of water management and storage for the country.
Yes.
We have got different dams in the country.
Yes.
CS. We have Thwake,
yes.
Uma, Sigiri, Mwache, etc.
Yes.
And some of these dams have a lot of contentious stories behind them. What are you going to tell Kenyans that right now we have got some rains across the country, and you're talking about storage and harvesting, and these dams are not playing their key role, to harvest and store?
That's a good question, Victor.
Yeah.
I have met very contentious questions on these dams. I think one of the oldest and the most contentious one is a dam by the name Itare. Are you familiar with that dam?
Yes.
Itare.
Yes.
There was Arol and Kimorel. Those are under Kerio Valley Development Agency, KVDA, that is not in my ministry. So, on Itare, which is specifically in my ministry, this is the dam that was started in the year 2017 and stalled in the year 2018.
Why?
At 27%.
Why?
There were some financing problems, engagement issues on ground, which are normal. There were discussions on the contractor going bankrupt along the process, and that project stalled in the year 2018. Since then, the contractor took the proponent, that is the employer, which is Government of Kenya plus Central Rift Valley. And this process, just the other day, was sorted out of court. It was in an international arbitration process. When this was sorted, now we are back to engage the contractor to see how we can unlock the project. I think as we speak, there is a implementation team that has been formed, encompassing all the stakeholders. That is the ministry, the Office of HOPS, Head of Public Service, Central Rift Valley Waterworks Development Agency, and now they are trying to unlock the process and look for a financing formula for the contractor to return to work. That is a work in progress. Secondly, you have talked of a dam by the name, many dams along, I'll start with the dams on Thwake, right, which is in Imakweni.
Yeah.
Thwake is a flagship project under the government of Kenya. Under this administration, Thwake is key. The people of Makueni, the people of Kitui, the people of Machakos partly, their water challenges have been perennial, year in, year out.
Yeah.
Thwake, as we speak, actually after 1 month upon my appointment to this office, I went to Thwake trying to unlock it. The contractor, the embankment has been done. However, the contractor had slowed down because of pending certificates unpaid. The good thing is Thwake is a dam being funded by the government of Kenya and African Development Bank. And the embankment is done. The dam is at 90%, above 90% complete. What remains is concreting of the face of the dam. You see, if you don't go, Thwake is a rock-filled dam.
Yeah.
So at the surface that actually is in contact with water, you have to concrete that surface for permeability, etc. That is the section that is remaining. And that section is very crucial because when the rains come and this section is not properly concreted, you risk to damage the structures that have been put in place to retain that wall. It is a 1.5 kilometer wall. It is supposed to hold more than 660 million cubic of water. That water is enough to feed Makueni.
Do you have a timeline for its completion?
Yeah, we have a timeline.
Okay.
I am looking to complete this dam by the mid next year. So, when I came in, I've engaged the contractor, I've had meetings with the consultant to unlock that deadlock. And you see, this is a dam that was awarded in the year 2016, 2015. Yeah. 2016, actually. It was supposed to be completed by last year, but they have now an extension of time up to December.
And that is quite expensive to the taxpayer, CS.
That is quite expensive, and I agree. Because some of the claims the contractor has raised is that the contract allows for variation of prices. That is simply to say, it allows for adjustments to inflation. It allows for adjustments to hiking of prices of steel, cement, etc. And the contractor is claiming to a tune of almost 5.6 variation of prices and cost adjustments, billion. at it, the world dam experts, you know, when that's a massive dam, you don't risk with it.
Yeah.
When they assessed that dam, they requested for some additional tests, especially at the river. You know, docket is at the confluence of two rivers. There is River Athi and there is docket River. So that dam is at the confluence of two rivers. At that confluence, at the bed of the river, during construction, they realized that the geological condition was very weak, of the soil formation was very weak. That brought up a variation of, so you call it a variation in the contract.
Yes.
That means additional works have to be incurred. This dam was meant to be 77.5 meters high from the riverbed. Imagine, 77.5 meters high. But when it rained and they realized there is need to impound more water, they agreed to raise that wall by 3 meters. So the actual height of the dam is 80.5 meters. Imagine 1.5 meters. It's a thing of beauty. 1.5 kilometers wall across, very broad. That brought up another variation. Now, when you increase the height of the dam, there is the possibility of water spilling from the sides because the impounding area now has to hold more water. That necessitated, to prevent water from pouring outside the walls, on the sides of the walls, something we call saddle dams. Those are some other kind of dams just to ensure that water does not spill off unintended. And that brought another variation. The total cost of these variations are coming to about 4.2 billion.
Yes.
That is phase one of Docket Dam. I've engaged African Development Bank. We have had a discussion. As a ministry, we are raising a cabinet memo to appraise all stakeholders on the same. Because the more that dam stays unconcreted, that phase, the contractor will claim more damages when it rains. Because the moment it rains, the unconcreted phase starts dissipating into the water.
So let me get your word.
Yes.
By mid next year, Docket Dam should be done and completed.
Yeah. If the cost, if we get that funding, because I've engaged African Development Bank by the end of this year, all remains is concreting that wall and completing some spillway that is ongoing as we speak. Actually, as we speak, the contractor is on ground.
Okay. There is this other dam, Mugaa Dam, which stood for close to 10 years. And in January this year, the government revived its construction. And the project has to continue. That project was to cost 2 billion shillings.
You're right.
Another controversial project here.
Yes.
Under your docket.
Yes.
Tell me something about it. What's the progress? And is this money also ballooning from 2 billion shillings because of the status of any other factors that should be remaining constant?
Victor, Mugaa Dam is funded by the government of Kenya. This is a dam that was supposed to cost 1.96, say almost 2 billion, as you said. The dam started in January going on, and it is at 73% completion. Now, as of this year, last year, we have a budget of 250 million. I'll tie this with another dam so that I answer a question I think you might bring up going forward.
Go ahead.
There are three dams that are being funded by the GOK, purely, no development partners. And that makes it very, very challenging to maneuver. One of them is a dam called Soinkoro. The second dam is Siwe Murunyi. That is in West Pokot. That dam, and this dam by the name Uma. Now, I'll tie Siwe Murunyi with Mugaa Dam. Siwe Murunyi is almost 80% complete. Yeah. And the ministry has put 900 million this year, 900 million to complete Siwe Murunyi. As we speak, if you check our budget estimates in the financial year 2024-2025, Siwe Murunyi has 900 million. But it requires an additional 500 million to complete, which we are hoping when supplementary 2 comes, we can load that, because that dam has been on the work since 2017.
Yeah.
Dams funded by the government of Kenya face the challenge of funding most of the times. And whenever there's that delay, the government runs into extra costs of claims by contractors, litigation, and all this becomes a burden to mwananchi, as you've said. So my target is, and the plan is, put another estimate of 500 million into our budget from the government of Kenya, supplementary 2, to complete Siwe Murunyi by mid next year.
500 million? 500 million. Okay.
Already it has been allocated 900 million. It required 1.4 billion to complete. If you go to that site today, works are ongoing, and the contractor is working on that deadline to finish the work by next year. Now, this year, to answer your question on UMA, in the current financial budget, UMA has been allocated a budget of 250 million shillings. Now,
is the work ongoing?
As we speak, work is ongoing. The contractor is returning to work.
Okay.
Now, and I'm planning to visit this by the end of this year. I have not had a chance to go here yet because of time constraints. Once we complete Siwe Murunyi, we shift all our resources to UMA Dam. So that now, instead of splitting the way we have been splitting Siwe Murunyi and UMA, all those resources shift to UMA Dam.
Yeah.
And that is how we unlock from 73% where we stand currently to finish it up by the end of next year. That will also depend on treasury, because if we give the estimates and finally don't get the money, because this is purely government of Kenya funded, then we'll have the same challenge.
You know, CS, you're talking about some huge amounts of money here.
Yeah.
And, you know, these variations are subject to additional costs, etc., depending on the, you know, prevailing circumstances. But then now, what is this magic stick that you have that you're going to use to complete these dams that have stalled for years? And let me say this, some of your predecessors failed to tackle.
There's no magic stick.
There must be.
It is a matter of planning. I'm a logical man, very pragmatic. If, as I said, if Siwe Murunyi requires 1.4 billion to complete, and I already have 0.9 billion, I only need what? 0.5 billion to complete. I will load that on supplementary bill, on supplementary estimates number 2. That is upcoming. Now, those resources, once I clear with, I'm taking them one dam at a time. Once I clear with Siwe Murunyi, I will shift the attention to UMA. UMA is 73%. It's a 2 billion project. 2 billion. So if I can load 0.5 every supplementary budget, that means in a year I can load 1 billion.
Yeah.
And it is 73% complete. So the remaining percentage is 27%. So that means if we get the funding from the exchequer, we can complete Siwe Murunyi and UMA. There is no magic stick. It is a matter of planning. Yeah. Especially on government-funded dams. The dam where we have a big challenge is Soin-Koru. Soin-Koru is a 20 billion project that stalled. Let me give you the exact date. In the year 2023. And the main challenge here, Victor, is funding again. I will 20 billion is not a mean ask, especially if the budget from the exchequer is less than 20 billion a year for the entire ministry. I'm talking of water, sanitation, and irrigation. We are starting a conversation to find blended financing for this dam. Because every day that passes, the contractor is claiming charges. So we are planning to have a meeting with the contractor and see whether we can come to an amicable understanding as we advertise this and look for blended financing to solve it. Otherwise, if you are to load 1 billion shillings or 0.5 million, which maybe that's what you can get as a ministry to allocate to that dam, it will take 40 years.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Let's take a break.
Thank you.
Because I know we still have a lot to talk about. And when it comes to the issue of, sanitation, water, harvesting and storage, it's broad.
Very
But
broad.
Kenyans really need to understand, because when you talk about these dams, they are so contentious and we need water.
Definitely.
We need water.
Great.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more. CS, Engineer Eric Murithi Mugaa joining me in studio. We'll come back shortly after this. Stay with us.
Thank you so much.
Technology has become a crucial part of our society. Without technological advancements, so much of our everyday lives would be drastically different. As technology develops, it strives to fulfill the changing needs of society. This means that technology exists to help us achieve the things that we wouldn't be able to achieve without it. Take on Tech looks at the advantages and downside of technological innovation in a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m.
All right, with Cabinet Secretary Eric Murithi Mugaa, Cabinet Secretary for Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. Today we are talking matters water, because water is life, CS, right? Water is life. In fact, all our cups are, there's, coffee, water, so water is life.
I'm on water.
Exactly. Actually, he is drinking hot water, clearly, because he's the Cabinet Secretary of Water. Okay, preaching water and drinking water, I like that. Okay, so let's come back and talk briefly about Mugaa Dam, which is also, has a bit of some story behind it. Quickly take us through what is happening behind Mugaa Dam, and perhaps if you can give us a timeline on when this will be completed and we start enjoying this precious commodity.
Mugaa Dam is a game changer in the coast region. Actually, as of last week on Friday, the Committee on Implementation, the Parliamentary Committee on Implementation, had invited us to give a status of Mugaa Dam. Mugaa Dam is in Kinango constituency in Kwale County. Now, to connect why Mugaa Dam is key, I have to relate the bulk supply of the coast region. Water in the coast region comes mostly supplied from Baricho well fields. Those well fields are on River Athi in Kilifi County. That water comes all the way to Kilifi town. It goes to Malindi. Some of it find its way to Lamu. That water is pumped all the way to Mombasa, to 3 tanks called Gutatu tanks. From the other side, to supply Mombasa, another source is Mzima Springs. Water comes from Mzima Springs, transmitted all the way to Mombasa. And that water is also shared to Kwale. Kwale gets its water from boreholes, Marere, pipeline, and also they have some boreholes called Tiwi boreholes. In the coast region, the location of Mugaa, where it's situated, it's supposed to provide the people of Mombasa with water That is 186,000 meter cubic a day. Mwache as a dam will impound, that is the storage, more than 136 million cubic liters of water. This is a dam that is funded by World Bank and Government of Kenya. It is one of its kind in the country. It's a roller compacted dam. That is, other dams are either rock filled, made of earth dams. This one is a matter of concrete compressed. It's a concrete wall, literally. This dam started in the year 2017, 2018. That's when the conversation started. But the actual commencement, the main challenge is when constructing a dam, Victor, is land. Mwache is supposed to cover more than 4,800 acres of land. Okay. And this is compulsory acquisition by the government. But our development partners do not pay for the land. The government of Kenya sorts out the land. We call them RAP issues because there's land.
This sounds all looks like a white elephant. When you talk about these dams and when they started and they installed, this is a white elephant, Bonasias, because now some of them started way back in 2017, many years ago.
Victor, that is where you are wrong. These are not white elephants. I would request you one day when you're on your way to Mombasa to make a stop at Mwache. We're in the process. The contractor started works. The percentage is 18% as we speak. There are 3 check dams. There are 2 check dams in this dam.
Yes.
Levels of dams. First level is called upper check dam. The second one is called a lower check dam.
Yes.
Then there's the main dam. The reason for having 2 check dams, that means those are actually walls that hold, like lower check dam holds like 8 million cubic. That lower check dam is meant, it is in a the catchment is very eroded. We need to control siltation on the main dam. So we are doing, under this package, we are doing lower check dam and the main dam. The lower check dam is supposed to hold the soil.
Yeah.
The bigger check dam, the main dam is supposed to hold the water. This dam, when we start pouring, especially the main dam, it will go on day and night for 18 months. Now, what is the plan of sorting out the RAP issues? As we speak, the RAP was coming to phase 1, was almost 4.6 billion. We are talking about shrines here. The World Bank is very keen on safeguards and a disturbance of livelihoods. So we have a consultant, a livelihood restoration consultant. We have our social safeguards team, the RAP and PAP people on ground. These people quantified the total RAP via the confirmation of we don't just do these things ovyo kienyeji. Okay. We use National Land Commission. They are the people who confirm the acreage. They confirm titles, parcels of land, and the RAP, including shrines, came to a tune of 4.6 billion. As we speak, we have paid more than 2.1 billion.
Okay.
2.5 billion. The balance is 2.1 billion. How are we handling this? Because we have been paying in phases. There was phase 1, in 2 words, there's one called Mavumbo, and phase 2, and phase 3. Because we didn't have 4.6 billion. The government didn't have 4.6 billion to pay all the people. So we are paying where the work is going on. Yeah. And that was a challenge. There was even a summon by the parliament to discuss the same. Now, we need 2 billion to complete do the RAP. Why do we need to finish the RAP before starting the main concreting? Okay. Because in case of any challenge, when this is a roller compacted, reinforced concrete that is being compacted, the moment you start pouring, the mixers, the batching plants will work continuously for 18 months. Because the moment you stop, in case of any disturbances, you introduce a weakness in that wall.
So what is the timeline for Mwache?
The timeline for Mwache is by 2027, that dam is supposed to be completed.
All right. So what is the government's strategic plan? In all this, do we have a strategic plan or, on your table, the government's strategic plan to ensure that all these things are well taken care of, water harvesting, storage, and management is intact?
In general?
Yes.
Now, I think we will also appeal to Kenyans. Water storage, we need to start looking at water storage in a broader view. The government is actively doing more than 29 dams, small, their size is
20?
Almost 29,
okay,
are ongoing. And some are almost completing. These are small dams that you in the villages, etc. We are doing more than 1,500 water pans. But you see, that is not the long game for us.
Yeah.
Water pans after every 4-3 years. If I send you to a town like Garissa or northeastern Kenya, water pans that were done 6 years or 7 years from today, because of siltation, barely hold half of their capacity. The long game, Victor, is actual large dams. Secondly, water storage should not be only a government thing. It is something that we are supposed to inculcate in ourselves. Civic education is very key. Because look at Nairobi. I'll give you an example of a town that you are well familiar with. When it rains here at your studios, what happens? In the next 3 minutes, your drains are full of water.
Yeah.
That water meets with the water with other drains, maybe from Upper Hill and yet to Nairobi River. So, in 20 minutes, the level of Nairobi River rises. And that water is on its way to where? To coast. Correct? And we are still, Nairobi, have the challenge of dry boreholes. To get water, Nairobi today, you have to go to depths of 200, 300 meters below the ground.
Okay.
While we have green spaces within town, we have schools, primary and secondary schools, we have universities within town that have fields. We are supposed to invest in conjunction with county governments on a strategy that is, we call it nature-based solutions to groundwater recharge and ensuring resilience in the long run. Imagine if that water that is leaving your roofs in KBC is either stored in an underground tank or directed to a green space whereby it is given 30 minutes contact time to percolate.
Okay. So, the ministry is actually, your ministry is broad. So what are you doing, based with the communities around some of these areas or across the country to actually sensitize and even teach Kenyans on the possible ways of water storage, before we go national? What are you doing with even the local leaders or local authorities in different parts of the country?
Actually, in the ministry, we have started a program called household water harvesting. Apart from us helping you do the water pans in your farms where we can, because of budgeting constraints, through NIA, National Irrigation Authority, through National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority, we are sensitizing Kenyans, and that's where I'm also sitting here, to do their small pans at homes in their small capacities.
Yes.
Every effort counts. All we need is to ensure that this water does not end up in our oceans.
I see.
Either this water seeps. The moment doesn't have to be a big thing. Just give that water a contact time. For example, we have a national park here, correct? The national park, when it rains, this water, because of no barrier at the edges, it just runs to our drains. Imagine if you held that water for 1 hour. Water harvesting is not a complex thing. It's a simple thing with ripple effect of combined effort. And that is what I'm advocating for, because as we speak, the government cannot do all storages at a go. The long game, as I said, for our food security, look at what happens in northeastern when it rains and the lower Tana. Too much water headed, causing flooding, headed to Indian Ocean. But to do one dam, proper dam, takes almost between 10 to 20 billion. So as we do the small ones that we have, and as we progress to finish the ones we have, imagine that problem can be solved by us, the Nairobi people, by just in your small compound, just do a small embankment along your lawns, and just hold that little water. It doesn't matter how little it is, for 1 hour, seeps down.
So your ministry is busy as we speak?
The ministry is very busy.
So yes, you talked about the National Irrigation Authority.
Yes.
And the authority actually is, implementing several projects. Let us talk about, which includes Mugaa Irrigation Project.
Yes.
Bura Irrigation Rehabilitation Project, Bura Irrigation Project, National Expanded Irrigation Program, etc., including Turkana Irrigation Project and all that.
Yes.
What are the development and some of the progress of these projects under NIA?
NIA is responsible for irrigation. More so, the ministry focuses on, we have the mandate. You see, that's a mandate that is not supposed to overlap with the Ministry of Agriculture.
Yes.
Production of rice. The deficit in this country of rice is 700,000 metric tons of rice. This year alone, the target is to expand Mugaa irrigation scheme. Its acreage is 30,000. Upon completion of Diba Dam and the ancillary works that are ongoing, we are looking to increase it by 5,000 acres. Well, let's talk about Bura. Bura is a very, very expansive area in Tana River County. Now, the challenge has been the water that is used for irrigating land in Bura is powered by generators. Pumping system. It's a pumping system. Now, has invested in water from the 20 upstream using, because in that, once that comes in, we can do another 30,000 acres on Bura. Now, actually, on our ministry target this year is to irrigate more than 44,000 acres. But now the problem comes in because we are doing both national projects and also community-based irrigation schemes. The other day, we were in Lower Kuja with His Excellency the President to launch phase 2 of that program that will see another almost 12,000 acres come into irrigation. But when these community-based irrigation schemes are done by the NIA, we transfer them to counties.
Okay.
And there's an aspect of mentorship, there's an aspect of capacity building, there's an aspect of ensuring proper transition. But that transition has been a lapse somewhere, because the records will reflect that the scheme could maybe, say for example, is doing 1,000 acres, and because of that proper transfer, and now because the counties are coming to manage, if these are national, not national irrigation schemes, we need to sensitize people more that these are infrastructure that cost money to make. And if we developed 1,000 acres, please let us continue irrigating and cultivating on 1,000 acres. Not after 5 years, we're only doing 200 acres on the same land, because the infrastructure was set up, and that is what NIA does. Set up the infrastructure, ensure the canals are there, and hand over, especially these based schemes, to communities. Now, how are we solving that?
Communities, which would actually brings the issue of household irrigation as well.
Now, how do you solve that? We are starting something called farmer-led irrigation systems, FLID, whereby the farmers have skin in this game. The farmers come in, government supports 50%, infrastructure, etc. done. But also the farmers, because when they have skin in this game, they are more likely to maintain the irrigation schemes are also shareholders in this. So that once the government exits, because there's no projects that last in perpetuity forever, but for posterity and sustainability, the farmers have to take responsibility. And that is what we're investing in, to sensitize, to capacity build, and to ensure that farmers actually have a food chain. This is working in liaison with the Ministry of Trade to ensure that farmers are guaranteed they have off-takers once their produce is ready. Those are some of the challenges that I'm trying to circumvent as we look forward to reducing this rice deficit, because we are spending so much money importing rice.
There is this, big animal called Galana Kulalu. I think this interview would have been complete without talking about Galana Kulalu. When you stepped into your docket, CS, Galana Kulalu has been in the lips of many for quite a long time. Would you please paint for us a picture on what is happening down there, and probably the progress of Galana Kulalu in respect to food security, and whether you are going to hack it this time around?
Galana Kulalu was a project that has been in Kenyans' lips for quite a while.
For years.
This project, I'll talk of three things in Galana Kulalu. There's something we call Galana Dam. That is a supply of water, because for any irrigation there must be supply of water. And the current water that we have right now, what it can support. We have a company called Selu. Selu is doing 10 acres in Galana Kulalu with the prospect of expanding this to 20 acres. However, Galana Kulalu has the capacity to do more than 180,000 acres extra from the 20 that Selu is doing. That we are developing a MOU between the government of Kenya and a company called Aldara. Aldara, if you go to Egypt, Aldara has done extensive farming. But to do that, we need to build a dam to supply that water, called Galana Dam. So, Galana Dam, we are trying to package it under blended financing. Even if possible, we get a proponent in the PPP framework to do the dam. But the proponent requires an offtake guarantee. An offtake guarantee is, I might do a dam, but do we have someone to actually take this water from this dam and use it? Otherwise, the investment will not be feasible. So that MOU between Selu, Aldara, and construction of Galana Dam becomes like joined at the hip. There cannot be a dam without an off-taker. And there cannot be any food produced in Galana Kulalu without the dam. So the motor that we have already can do between 10 and 20,000 that Selu is engaged in doing. But to do the extensive food security thing that we are talking about, Victor, we have to do Galana Dam. And this is actually a very key thing that we have been following up for the last 3 months. As we speak, people have done due diligence on Aldara. Aldara is the company that is willing, upon doing test, to be the off-taker guarantee of water from Galana Dam. I sent my officers to Egypt to look at what Aldara have done along Aswan, Aswan Dam. Egypt has done an extensive irrigation using water from that dam. And the people who actually do that irrigation, thousands of acres, are Aldara. So it's a tricky situation because, first of all, the dam, the off-taker, must find a common ground. And we are pushing to do Galana Dam under that blended financing, PPP, where government has a stake, a proponent who is actually being evaluated as a stake, so that when this is done, the thousands of acres arable land in Tana River and also some parts of Kilifi County can be put under production. Victor? Yeah.
Okay. So when you look at Galana Kulalu, what can you say about it to Kenyans? Because it's been a big issue for a very long time. Are we seeing an end to the kind of problem that it has been facing for those years? In just one sentence, if you can.
In one sentence, Victor, is Galana Kulalu is our safety net. To actualize it, I need a dam, Galana Dam. But I have a proponent. As we speak, the PPP Directorate is actually put this on top of the agenda because it is very key also to His Excellency the President. He has pronounced himself that he needs it done, and have been given directions to ensure that we make sure this happens. So I'm hoping in 2 or 3 months I can come here and give you a date when we can start maybe doing Galana Dam in preparation. Now that we have an off-taker to start 180,000 acres farming.
Okay. CS, do we have policies? I mean, talk about water harvesting. Do we have enough policy guiding the ministry and even the process itself?
On water harvesting, Kenya has never been short of policy, Victor.
But the implementation is now the big problem here.
That is what I'm pushing.
Okay.
Because if we have an agency that actually its mandate is to water harvest and store, one of the oldest agencies in the ministry, National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority. The other day, the projects being done by this authority are actually to store water. And I even haven't mentioned about the oncoming Booster Dam in Bomet County. This is where we are getting some fund from Exim Bank, correct? This is the dam that the idea was floated in the year 2017. But there was a funding problem. When His Excellency the President and during FOCAC, the China-Africa Forum, we managed to secure that project requires almost 20 billion to finish. So we have done our due diligence. We are waiting for the contractors to finalize, and then Exim Bank we can sign contracts to start that job. Our solution, Victor, is our long-term solution to anyone who cares about this country is proper storage.
Okay. CS, we came from COP29 just a few days ago, and Kenya has been advocating for losses and damages because, pollution and, climate change, pollution, population growth, urbanization, etc., also affect, it's a big issue affecting us, and that actually also aggravates the issue of water in the country. What are we doing in terms of that? Because the issue of losses, that damages and climate change has been a very big hard nut to crack for many countries, Kenya included. We had our own conversation here, was it last year? And nothing is being done. So what is your ministry doing about it?
There's something we call climate financing, Victor.
Great.
And bearing in mind that Kenya has been on the forefront in Africa to champion matters climate, its effects, as we talk about resilience, climate change resilience programs.
Okay.
And the greatest...
I'm told we need to take a break, a very quick one.
Okay.
And then when you come back, we're going to come to the tail end.
Yes.
I need to, because he is the Cabinet Secretary of Water and Sanitation, I need to fill his cup. And we'll be talking about issues with water, climate, water, sanitation and irrigation in the country. We're still talking about issues to do with how the government is going to make sure that there is a sustainable water supply in the country, the availability. Of course, there is that issue of financing and even harvesting and storage, which is a very big issue in the country. And the Cabinet Secretary here, Engineer Eric Muriithi Mugaa, joining us in studio to talk about this. And people call him the youngest Cabinet Secretary in Kenya. I don't know how young he is, but yes. What we all know is knowledge and competence is what is important here. So that is what we'll be talking about shortly before we take a break and we come back with this and much more. So stay with us.
Thank you so much.
back. That was a very quick one. In aviation, they say touch and go. Touch and go. All right. So, yes, very quickly, we're talking about the issue of climate financing, which is actually the biggest issue here in some of the affected countries, Kenya included. Go ahead.
I would like us to look at it in another perspective. What is the greatest agent of climate change?
Yeah.
What suffers most? Water. Water is the agent of climate change. I have a colleague who the other day told me, there's a sections in this country, if you are stationed at the same point for the entire year, if you are not affected by floods, you'll be affected by drought.
Two things.
If you stand stationary at the same point for 12 months, you will suffer droughts and you will suffer flooding. Same point. The agent of climate change is water, Victor. And as we champion, because I know Kenya is actually on the forefront, championing climate change and its effects. Why shouldn't my ministry benefit from this conversation?
Yeah.
Because I actually deal with water. So we have taken the opportunity to prepare some sections of this country to tap into that kitty, global kitty of climate financing. We are developing projects to a tune of 100 billion shillings. Because as the president's advocate for climate change, when fruits start trickling down, shouldn't only go to other ministries. We are developing climate resilience projects. And that's how we are packaging our projects. Now, once this is complete, we have a portfolio of almost 100 billion that is ongoing. We are now pitching the same to development partners and other partners who deal with climate resilience.
Yeah.
And our argument is simple, that water is the agent of climate change. May it be the rising oceans, may it be the extraordinary pours that we held in the country, may it be the long extended durations of drought. So if we can tap into that, you see that now SIP I talked about, we are looking for implementation and financing strategy. It helps quicken our steps towards the universal access. And as we mentioned, one of the areas I've seen Kenyans, we are really struggling, is sanitation. You see, and you would think we are struggling until you go to our neighboring other parts of Africa. They complement us, but we have not yet achieved as much connectivity as it would be in water, sanitation. And that's why we are packaging nowadays. I've made it clear in the ministry, when you package our projects, it has to come with a component. You see, water, water, water. Where is the component of sanitation? So, any projects that will upcome, and I know we are in a very tight physical space, it has to come with a component of sanitation. Because once you drink water, biological process must take place, and there must be a sanitation conversation on the table somewhere.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, as we finalize, I have two questions here, and this one is coming from our viewers. One is asking that, what are some of the steps that your ministry is undertaking to revolutionize Kenyan irrigation for food security?
Yes.
What steps are you undertaking at your ministry to revolutionize Kenyan irrigation for food security? That is one. And then another question here is coming from, this is the issue to do with the Northern Water Collector Tunnel. Northern Water Collector Tunnel. And it's completed. So the question is, are Nairobians receiving the additional 140 million liters of water daily now that the Northern Water Collector Tunnel project is completed? Those two questions as we finalize.
Victor, I thought you'd give me another chance, another day to talk about the Northern Water Collector Tunnel.
No doubt.
But I can touch on it.
No doubt.
It's a beautiful story, this one. You see, I was part of the team that formulated this. I was involved somewhere along the process. The Nairobi, I'll start with the Northern Collector Tunnel.
Yes.
And I would suggest, when you have free time, Nairobians and people around have free time, can go and look at that system. I was there, if I'm not wrong, almost 1.5 months ago, when I was pushing to get this water to Gigiri tanks, Gigiri tanks are in Kiambu. After traversing a distance of almost 50 kilometers from Kigoro treatment plant. And for water to get to Kigoro treatment plant, it has another 5 kilometers from Dakaini Dam.
Yeah.
And from Dakaini Dam, now that's where you see the tunnel. The tunnel is supposed to bring 140 meter cubic to this side. And as we speak, because I know it has been raining in the region, and the water has increased, we are almost there.
Yeah.
But now, the question is, do we have the right infrastructure to transmit this water from Gigiri tanks? Because it's supposed to have 3 counties. We are talking of Murang'a. That is the first project I attended at Ndronyo Chenge.
Yeah.
When the people of Murang'a wanted also a stake, a slice in this cake. And I think that water is flowing as we speak. Then this water comes to Gigiri tanks here. From Gigiri tanks, it goes the eastern bypass and western bypass. Now, this water coming to Nairobi is also going all the way to Machakos.
Yeah.
The export processing zone. Kiambu have their stake in this water, and Nairobi has actually the biggest chunk of this case. The demand for Nairobi is about 900,000 meter cubic a day.
Because of the population?
Because this is the capital city.
Yeah.
But now when this water gets to us, the question is, do we have the right infrastructure to put it into our houses? Now, because abstract and gets to our people is 100, we have lost the 40.
Okay, so from this 140...
Yeah. They are getting not all of it, because now I know the transmission is not operating at optimal capacity, but as of last week, they were getting 100.
100.
Yes.
The last question was from the viewer who was asking...
Irrigation.
Irrigation.
Yes.
Yeah, for food security.
I think I've discussed this, only that maybe the viewer didn't get it, is that this year we are targeting to do 44,000 acres of irrigation. And to do that, we have what we call FLEED, farmer-led irrigation programs, as I've told you. We are sensitizing farmers. We have a land reclamation policy that is actually coming in to enable that, to ensure we claim more lands and put it under irrigation. Those are more steps. As we speak, very soon I'll come here to discuss the land reclamation policy that we are finalizing in the ministry. And also that we are exploring the possibility of having a big irrigation scheme in Taita Taveta. You know, that land is very, very horrible for production of rice. And Kenya produces one of the best quality of rice. So the steps are there.
Okay, and finally, you are new in the docket.
Yes.
Perhaps you are one to Kenyans as you take this noble step to change our lives. I mean, it's a big docket, Buenos Aires.
Victor, you are right, I am new to the docket, but I am not new to water. You are very right.
Yeah.
I am new to the docket, but I am not new to water. And I am quick study. I have taken time to go around many projects. I know I don't have a bigger following like maybe you, Victor.
No, you do. You do.
And if all of us put our hands together as a country, it is doable.
Yeah.
And people have to be a little bit more optimistic. I am here to serve, Victor. That's all I can tell you. And for the moment I have the opportunity to serve, and you can ask around the people I work with, I am 100% into it, 140% into it. We have a tight fiscal space, and we have a litany of incomplete projects in the country.
Yeah.
Billions have been spent. My first responsibility is completing those programs. When those, Victor, are complete, the impact will be felt. So I am unlocking them program by program. And I'm visiting this country county by county. So if I've not gotten to your county, I'm still coming. Thank you so
coming
much.
to your county.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Buenos CS.
Yeah.
We've been talking about matters to do with water, sanitation, and irrigation in the country. Buenos CS, I promise you, you'll be right back here to tell Kenyans on the progress and so far what you promised and some of these processes and progresses that we are making as a country. I mean, to be food secure, to have enough sanitation, and if in fact matters to do with irrigation in the country on that. That has been Engineer Eric Mugaa, who is a Cabinet Secretary on Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation in the country. We are taking a break. GMK continues shortly after this break, but as usual on the front page of the local dailies, quoting the church, that is what I have, Ruto, Rigathi, all out at war. On the front page of the Daily Nation, 2027, Matiang'i taps Botswana, polls experts. That's on the front page of the Daily Nation. And finally, on the front page of the Standard, Gachagua, is life better now that I'm impeached? Take your favorite copy and read for yourself. My name is Victor Lowe. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Victor.